welcome back to another segment of TrendSpotting. Today I'm joined with Chris, Tomas, and Ken. We're going to be talking about liberation and the recent dumping in Dededo.
Yep.
But let's start with liberation first.
Sure. So, as we all know, Liberation is this Sunday. Starts with a parade. We will be having a live stream at 7 a.m. We have a bunch of stuff planned for that. We have a musical guest, trivia, giveaways. We even have games at the Liberation Parade. So, make sure to check our booth when you come down. Chris?
Yep. It's going to be a blast as always. I mean, they wanted to come hard with this 75th Liberation, and looks like that's what they did. I mean, Pia Mia. You got any bigger than
Pia
that?
Mia. Free concert?
Right?
Man.
Yeah, Carl and I have been to practically all of the memorials. The digital team was there to capture some of that. Also, yesterday they announced the Grand Marshals. I think it's good to mention their names. So it's Roman Kanata, Francisca Franquez, David Flores, all of whom are war survivors. And so I think that's really special. So one of the reporters yesterday asked the governor, what does a Grand Marshal do? What a thoughtful question.
Yeah.
And the answer is that they're the top dignitary at the parade. So,
Right.
You can cheer them on if your family's there. It would be fun. And today they announced the liberators as well, all of whom, were at Guam helping
there
liberate
was a
from...
breakfast this morning.
Right, at GVB,
Okay.
and then also one World War II veteran who helped with the recovery after. So that was interesting.
And you got to interview each of those liberators this morning.
Yeah, I believe that during that Sunday show we're gonna have each of their profiles. So we talked to each of the Grand Marshals and then also each of the liberators.
What was really cool was how they had these different memorials, and with each of these memorials, they kind of unearthed a part of Guam's war history that, I didn't know about half of these sites and the things that happened at the locations of these new memorials. So I thought that was cool. I mean, after 75 years of this celebrating liberation, you would think that anything there was to know, we would know already. But to have information that's new to a lot of people. Of course, it wasn't new to the Mononco and the survivors that endured those atrocities at those sites. But I thought it was pretty cool that after that long, there's still new stories that yearn to be told.
Yeah, I mean, so definitely here at KUAM, we've covered the gamut of everything for liberation. So if you go to our Instagram, you'll find our Medal of Honor recipients, where we look at four Marines who received the Medal of Honor for their services during World War II, or during the liberation of Guam. We have a podcast, a special liberation podcast that you can find on our SoundCloud or Spotify. We also have the Survivor series and the We Always Remember series, which broadcast on KUAM 3 years ago and 10 years ago. You can find reruns of those on TV8 as well as GNN and TV1. So there's a bunch of old content that's out there and a bunch of new stuff. So
Right, and I thought another thing that was pretty cool was last year the parade, not as many floats as in years past, and there's been an increase in the number of floats that are, which is cool because last year's parade was kind of over fast.
Yeah, and we interviewed the mayor, Mayor Ngakta, and
Right.
and it was funny during that day. I think it was Wednesday. All the mayors said, "Don't come yet. We didn't really have everything up yet."
Right.
And so he was the only one willing to show us the very beginning of what it's gonna look
And
like.
I think
It's competitive.
it is, and it's not necessarily that they're not up and done. It's just that they don't want anyone to see the design of their float.
And some people were like, "Oh, we have other things to work on, so we'll see who wins." Right.
But you know what? 7 a.m. on Sunday, you will get to see those floats before they go out on the parade route. The parade route's supposed to start at 10, right? Is that the...
Yeah, we're going to bring you there early.
We're going there at 7. We're going live at 7.
So make sure you're on Facebook at 7 a.m.
Yeah, you'll get to see the floats. You'll get to see live musical performances from the Guam Territorial Band, who just won
They
some
won
a
the
medal.
award
right? They
in
won.
Australia.
Yeah, so we get them. We have interviews with Lieutenant Governor, other musical performances, tons of giveaways. We're actually giving away shirts on the show too. So if you want an exclusive 75th Liberation Day shirt, all you have to do is
Answer a question.
comment
Trivia
on
question.
this Facebook podcast
Yeah.
or on this Facebook video.
Make it
so
a
you
day
just comment.
someday.
We're gonna give some shirts away. We give at least 5 to 10 shirts today. So all you gotta do, you comment on this comment on our stream right now with either an issue that, and we have a bunch of issues to talk about besides liberation that we're actually going to get into in a bit. But just engage with us a little bit, and you'll win a exclusive limited edition 75th Liberation shirt.
Right on. And
Wow, I thought it was going to be harder than that. I thought there was like a trivia.
It will get harder.
We
got a lot of shirts.
There are, we have a lot of shirts. So, you get the easy one here.
I think it's kind of cool you can make a day out of Liberation Day. I mean, because usually it's you go down to the parade, you watch the parade, it's over. But we're given this opportunity to make it a whole. I mean, you start at 7 a.m. with, the things we got going on live and the entertainment. And the parade doesn't even start till 10, so.
Yeah.
We're doing the pre-show.
Yeah, all those features, I think one of the oldest survivors is 99 and one of the oldest liberators is 97. Still so fresh. They remember the first hour they were on island and they shared that with us. So it's actually, a lot of new perspectives that we're going to hear.
What are some of the recurring themes? I mean, because you've talked to so many of these survivors and the liberators, and I'm pretty sure they're all kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of gratefulness, right? There's a lot of also not wanting to have history repeat itself. I think one thing that's new that came up today is that while we are very much in a celebratory mood, they weren't necessarily happy to do it, right? I mean, war is not a. I think Irene Scrambuleri told us this. War is not a kind thing. So I think among all the celebration, there's also still that solemnness to it of what actually happened. But everyone is in a good mood and they had a huge feast. Jason was there and they rolled out the red carpet for everyone.
Man, you know what? Okay, so. The digital team has covered a few of the unveilings of these memorials, and there has always been good food at the memorials. Like, they lay out, we got the cucumber, daigo, whatever, that salad. Dishes. It's always good. So, I mean, how was the spread this morning?
Oh, it was great. I didn't really have much. I just went straight for the coffee, and that's all I needed. But it was.
Jason knows.
It's right.
Yeah, I split.
Yeah.
What? You didn't balutan anything?
No, I had to leave because then you took the gear and you went to go shoot the other.
Yeah, I had to shoot this morning.
I mean, there's definitely a bunch of heart-wrenching and tough stories, but then also stories of hope and positivity that came out of. When we're putting together the podcast with Liberation Podcast, I think one thing that was pretty surprising to hear is at least when I was going through all the interviews, many of the survivors were saying that they had no animosity to the Japanese occupation, which I thought to be I was surprised to hear that, especially your brother got killed.
My grandparents had animosity.
But, so I was surprised to hear that, and then, they all had that kind of, or a lot of them had that belief that they were just leading towards, this was a bad part of the past, and I hope we don't forget that, the stuff we went through, but we're moving forward,
Yeah. Asha, what's your take on it? I mean, I'm sure you've been around Liberation, but to be so deep in it for this 75th Liberation.
It's always nice going out to the parade and seeing all of the survivors. I think that one memorial we went to, Menangan, we had to walk. And, it's not a hard walk. It was very sunny, and for some reason, I don't know, I just felt winded going from point A to point B, which wasn't even a long walk. But there are this one person who was a survivor. I can't remember his name. Do you remember his name?
No.
Anyway, he was holding a flag, and he walked the whole thing.
Yeah, that was crazy.
He walked the whole thing.
That's
he was in his
stretch.
90s too, and he walked with a flag, the sun beating down on us. And when I saw him, I felt like, okay, I can't complain. This is nothing compared to what they endured back in the day. But
right,
and then we rode the troll.
Well, when we did the 2 mile
Let's coach
Menangan Memorial Run, those thoughts also went through my mind when we were running that.
That's
You
right.
know what, exactly. You were running that day.
Thanks for running.
But how crazy was that? You imagine if you were in Jigo, and you had to walk from Jigo down to Menangan, how.
I mean,
we
it's not
did the
even just
2
the
mile,
Yeah, we can't wrap our minds around it because it's not just that they had to walk. It's
guys with guns.
they
had so much more
time.
And one of the Grand Marshals carried ammunition on that walk.
Yeah.
Him and 15 other Chamorro men carried ammunition along those 2 miles. So it wasn't just just a walk in the park by any means.
No.
It wasn't like how we walked.
And you hear stories of babies that were born and they had to be left on the side of the road, or anybody who was sick was just left to die. because
That's hard.
the Japanese kept pushing them. So yeah, that's an interesting point you brought up, Ken, in that because it's the 75th, there's this huge celebratory mood, but at the same time we're hearing these somber stories, but also those stories of survival, of hope, of renewal, and it's pretty deep.
It's ridiculous. When I was going through, we sifted through like hours and hours of interviews, right? And like some of the retellings, like it's crazy. Like, oh yeah, so we did this, and they tied me to the tree, and then they killed my brother.
Yeah.
Or something, and then like just like nonchalantly moving from this to this,
Yeah.
you're like, this is just such a, this happened, right? And you're just like, man, can you imagine like having to be a part of that type of experience, like?
And again, for that generation that didn't necessarily process their guilt like some of the later generations. So when you talk to these people, you can tell that it's obviously it's very therapeutic for them.
Yeah, and it's also stories of tomorrows who left. Not shortly after that, we Kin and I, Casey and I, went and interviewed someone who left Island for almost 60 years and is back for the 75th Liberation, and he was just 10 years old. And like you said, he heard his dad being killed by the Japanese, and so it's even stories of people leaving and then now in the 75th year coming back and sharing that with us.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, so guys, Liberation coverage, 7 a.m. Sunday. And if you just want to watch the traditional parade stuff, we will also be streaming that later in the day.
Right.
Through our friends over at PBS, right? So we'll do that at 10 a.m., I think. So, but
So
there are other news things to take care of. Oh, what are we doing? Are we doing the good news or are we doing the bad news? I think we should just, you know what? Okay, we got a package for you. Tomas did a story earlier this week, and a lot of you were talking about it. Jace, can you roll the package?
Well, what's it about first?
So Frank Mendiola, a fisherman from Guam, is providing basically free. You have to pay for the fuel, though. I know there's a lot of inquiries on the price. Free service between Guam and Rota because Rota only has one airline service that only provides 6 to 8 seats a day. So Frank Mendiola shares the story of how he's worked throughout the years to help people from Rota get to Guam and back. Guam resident Frank Mendiola is a fisherman, but at least 3 times a week, you find him transporting people between Guam and Luta.
It's hard to get airlines out of Guam, and there's a lot of them that's stuck here. So we try to help them.
Frank's boat is the solution for many families who can't catch a flight on Rota's only commercial airline passenger service, Star Marianas, which offers 6 to 8 seats. Most flights are already booked for the next few weeks. Now, Frank isn't alone. He and about a handful of other fishermen travel between Guam and Rota by boat every week, sometimes even transporting caskets that are too large to fit in the aircraft. Frank rode these waters on his 28-foot boat for almost a decade. When he's not fishing, he brings as many as 11 people between the islands on the 3 to 5 hour excursion.
I've done it for weddings, funerals, and all type of parties.
He's done more of the trips after United Airlines terminated its services to Rota a year ago. Their 166-seater plane only flies between Guam and Saipan. United Corporate Communications tells KUAM that it has no plans to add services to Rota. The demand is so great that in the middle of this interview, another family called Frank to schedule their trip from Luta. Some of the stories he hears on deck are more extreme.
I got a call one day, and this individual is on wheelchairs, and they want to accommodate him on the airline because he's on wheelchairs. I mean, that guy can't get off so we load him up on my boat, try to bring him down as comfortable as we can.
He says even if it comes at a personal cost, it's stories like this that motivate him to take the journey.
I work for the government, and we are a public servant for and I also consider me doing this to the people of Rota as a servant, public servant.
Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Tomas Manglona. So yeah, we want to thank Frank for sharing his story with us. It's something that I just learned about when I got back trying to visit family back in Rota, but we also want to share some of the comments that a lot of the viewers left. We have actually surprisingly a comment from the NMI Supreme Court Chief Justice, who's also a fisherman who happens to be from Rota. Alexandro Castro, he says, Dank Luna, Sizus Maasi, Frank, and others for providing sea transportation to the people of Rota. Empressina says thanks. Walter Perch says gotta love him. Just a lot of great testimonies from people. Lots of blessings for Frank for doing this for such a.
It was really cool. There's even one comment where they were like, "I'd like to book a trip from."
Right. People are planning their next vacations now. Apparently.
Yeah.
I mean, how long is the ride?
So he said with not a lot of weight on the boat, he's done it in 2 hours and 30 minutes.
Wow.
With a full load with about 11 people and all the meat and everything else they bring. That is about 5 hours.
Wow, what a difference.
And
But that's still awesome.
United pulled out a year ago, and those 166 seats only make it to Saipan. So going to Rota is really difficult for funerals. And I even mentioned that package caskets sometimes too have to be brought on board.
I've never been to Rota.
Yeah.
I've never been to Rota.
I've been to Rota. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Contact
go
him.
contact Frank and
We're gonna
to
do
Rota.
a story.
Well, actually,
do
he
a
was
live
mentioning.
stream from Rota.
Yeah,
Right,
when
right.
KUAM was doing a Super Typhoon YouTube coverage, he brought KUAM reporters on his
Right.
boat from Saipan to Tinian.
Yeah.
So Frank has talked to
Yeah.
KUM before. If you want to look up that old story. So.
Uncle Frank.
Uncle Frank,
Uncle Frank.
yes.
I think we have a T-shirt winner.
Yeah, we do have a T-shirt winner, Debbie Davis.
Our top fan.
Our top fan. We
Hi,
got a
Debbie.
free
Congratulations.
75th Liberation Day
You
T-shirt.
get a shirt.
And Debbie, you've earned a shirt by simply commenting and engaging with the Facebook stream today. So if anyone else wants to win some shirts, we got like tons of
I
shirts
got a
to
question.
give away.
What is the shipping to Bardstown, Kentucky?
We'll figure it out. We'll get you
Maybe we
that
could have
shirt.
Frank maybe roll a-
Just message us and let us know the size. We'll get you one of those. But we got more shirts to give away, guys. So if you want a 75th Liberation T-shirt, just message us, or just engage with us. Tell us what you think about Frank and his efforts to take people to and from Guam and Rota. So that's the good news. That's the good
That's the
story.
good
Happy
story.
Are we gonna get trashy now?
Now we're about to get into the
Dumps.
dumps.
Down in
with
the
this one.
dumps.
The Basula
Down
bargain.
the
So, you know what, Chris? I don't even think you need to intro it. Let's just play the package.
Okay.
I think it speaks for itself.
It was hard work cleaning the illegal dump on this stretch of Ukadu pipeline near the entrance of Fern Terrace. But Senator Clint Rigel was able to do it with help from FSM and FAS community groups. Furniture, tires, refrigerators, household trash moved from the jungle to the sides of this road. The cleanup done back in April. This morning we took the senator back to the area he helped clean up. He was shocked by what he saw, saying some of it looked very familiar.
You can actually see there's bags here.
Yeah.
So this was stuff that was already bagged, and it looks like it was never picked up. So it looks like animals tore through it. Yeah, these are the same bags we used. I can tell because the way they look.
Now look at the place. Dededo Vice Mayor Frank Beneventi admitting to KUAM News much of the trash bagged during the senator's cleanup has been sitting here for 2 months.
I'm sorry, with my 3 staff only, as much as I want to hose everything out, it's hard with the big village I have. And I'm just saying sorry. I will do my best to come back and really clean it up.
Senator Rigel visibly upset, telling KUAM News he had a deal with the Dededo mayor's office, clean it up, and the mayor's office would pick it up. Now, there's no way to tell that a cleanup ever took place here.
Yeah, it's very disappointing. It's very disappointing. I don't know what to say. It's disappointing and it's inexcusable, if you ask me. So, I mean, people worked hard here on this day. I'm embarrassed to show this to all the people that helped clean up because now they're going to feel like what they did was for nothing.
Vice Mayor Beneventi says some loads were picked up back in April, but at the end of the day, it's the same old sob story. Lack of manpower, lack of funds.
We took 4 pickup load that day. Then the next day came back with another 4 pickup load. With 3 guys working, that's hard. My equipment is down.
Senator Rigel says the mayor's office should have said they needed help.
Whatever, we would have come back with people and help load. In fact, that's the easier part. The hardest part was gathering all the scattered trash from the jungle and everything, digging it out of the weeds and everything, and collecting it and bagging it. That's the hard part. So once it's bagged and it's stacked on the side, it's kind of easy to throw those bags in the back of whatever vehicle, truck or dump truck or whatever. We would have been more than happy to come out and do that.
Vice Mayor Beneventi, meanwhile, says now he'll ask the governor's office to provide a backhoe to clean up the cleanup that wasn't cleaned up. We asked the senator if he would consider coming back and doing it all again.
I'm not coming back here. We'll go to another village and we'll make sure, to me, that we did our job here. I'm not going to bring people back to rebag the trash they already bagged. No.
All right, Asha, what do you think of that?
Jeez, put me on the spot. I think it's unbelievable. It's crazy. There's no excuse, in my opinion. I don't know how you forget to pick up trash.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was...
I mean, like, that much trash.
Right, yeah. Especially after, the vice mayor said they went back there a couple times, got some pickup loads, and then how do you go back there, start cleaning it up, and then get distracted or whatever for 2 whole months? There was a meme that was pretty funny. It was
The loads.
the bird box. Did you guys see that meme? It was like
Oh my gosh, yes,
going
I
driving
saw
and it
that.
said how the mayor drives around Dededo. Because yeah, I mean, how do you drive by that area for 2 months and just doing their regular rounds and not remember that, oh, that's where they did that huge cleanup and they bagged, hundreds of bags of trash they were supposed to pick up.
I mean, it's closer to 4 months, right? We're talking
Yeah.
like April, right?
April, yeah,
Like-
right.
I always try to be the devil's advocate on the show. I'm like, hey,
Devil's advocate away. Let's go. That's
Hey,
it.
like, honestly, it's difficult to, be a mayor. But honestly, there's no excuse. I don't even know what to say. Like, a bunch of people volunteered their time, picked up all that trash, put it nicely in bags on the side of the road.
Went in the jungle and pulled it out of the jungle.
And all they had to do
Yeah.
was pick it up,
And all
put
you
it
had
into
to
a truck.
do was drive the truck
Drive
down, get one of your guys,
They
get
had
in the
the
back,
easiest
put it on
part
the thing,
to do.
and get rid of it.
Yeah. And when we asked the governor what she's going to do, she said, well, it's on the mayors and it's on the community. So when you see the community actually doing something like this and not being, followed through.
And then
it's just-
officials don't even follow through.
Right.
Yeah.
It's disappointing. I mean, how many beach cleanups or trash cleanups
That's
have we been
crazy.
to,
Right.
That's insane. That's insane. I can say you don't do it that week, maybe. Maybe it's a busy week.
Right.
But
Weather
4
is bad.
months.
Busy 4
months.
months. Yeah,
No.
so busy.
4
yeah.
months.
Well, that parade's going to be...
That
Busy
parade's
prepping
coming
for
up.
that.
The parade is
Parade
big.
is coming
It
up.
We
is.
gotta finish building that
You know
float.
what? It is the 75th Liberation
Oh my
Parade.
God.
So a Pia Mia is gonna be at that thing.
She
you know,
has
like
landed.
I,
Yeah.
Maybe Dededo's float should be like off track.
No.
you know,
That's not even funny, guys. That's bad.
yeah.
That's
it's not
bad. That's
funny.
bad.
It is
It's all
ridiculous.
For those
It's
people
insane.
who did the work,
Yeah, I felt bad for the vice mayor. Because obviously we put him on the spot and, there was nothing he could say but sorry. And I mean, he tried, right? He was like, oh, I'm sorry, but you only have 3 guys. Oh, yeah, my equipment broke down. The dog ate my homework.
Is there a
Yeah.
bigger issue that Dededo, one of the largest villages, only has 3 extra guys to help the
3
mayor and
maintenance
the
guys.
vice mayor?
Yeah.
I mean, there is an issue there, right?
There was a
That is
comment
problem.
from Rafa and Pinko that said maybe Dededo needs to be broken down into 3 different villages with 3 different mayors to deal with
Maybe.
everything.
Maybe.
Andrew Terlahi wrote, I paid the monthly trash bill and solid waste is able to pick up curbside by appointment white waste. They also have places for you to drop off paint, electronics, and other waste. All you have to do is call for inflow. Metallic waste can also be legally thrown away at a site in Dededo. People just need to do their part instead of trashing the island. And that's one side of it. Because we hear a lot of explaining, trash-splaining, if you will. Oh, people can't afford to dump their trash, or oh, the mayors are overstaffed, or you got EPA saying, oh, it's the mayors. You got the mayor saying, where's solid waste? You got the governor just washing her hands of the whole thing and saying, oh, it's on the mayors in the community. And I've interviewed the lieutenant governor on this, and he was of the feeling that Guam just needs to eat it. They need to bite the bullet. They need to put dumpsters out. They need to, we've got all these task forces. Why not have a task force a strike force that goes out and cleans up these sites, or, find some way to step up the enforcement of it, because there are different agencies that have the authority to do it, and that's something we learned in another. I mean, we've done how many of these illegal dump
That's what-
shows?
Man, we've done so many podcasts. So many of your Tuesday podcasts has been centered around just areas were littered with trash. you know, and it's just because, I mean, it's such a big deal and it's just such an eyesore, like,
Yeah.
and we always talk to, like, Nick,
Right.
or, you know, whoever about, like, what the government can do or what the community, the small steps the community can do to at least help alleviate that problem, right? And it sucks to see, like, the FSM community come out there full force.
Especially if you consider the time, like, you know, they were under a lot of flack
Yeah.
for crimes or whatever, and they're doing this. I mean, obviously part of it is they want to get out and show people that, hey, you know, we're getting hated on, but, you know, people from the FSM, people with ties to the FAS, they do good things. And, you know, when that post went out, I mean, people
were
they
so
felt good
excited,
about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just so crazy to think, like, okay, this is free. Like, pretty
Yeah.
much the government doesn't pay for anything, right? This is free. Like, volunteers came out, gave that effort, and this is what everyone is kind of trying to be an advocate for. Like, keep Guam clean. Let's do this, right? So it was done, and we still couldn't get
It done.
the mayor's office to throw it away.
Yeah.
Like, how crazy? Like, there's no sense of efficacy anymore because, like, what? Why would you want to clean up? Like, Tomas, why would you want to clean up this area? Because
Well, hopefully it doesn't
no
lead
one's
to
gonna
that.
pick up that trash.
Right.
Like, but that's what the mentality would be
Right,
like, right?
yes.
Especially if you're on the fence already. You're like, yeah, well, look, guy
I
from
just
Dededo would clean it.
I'm disappointed in the lack of a response from like the executive branch. I mean, this is a huge problem, and you know, man, I reach out to everybody when I go to these sites and we do these. I reach out to senators, you know, reach out to mayors, reach out to people in the administration. I mean, God, we talked this to death to the lieutenant governor, and there's just no real response, you know. And the mayors are drowning, dude. They don't have the budget. They don't have the manpower. And you look at like the recycling revolving fund, that's split equally between or amongst the 19 villages. So you have a village like Dededo, which obviously has a huge problem with
Yeah.
these illegal dumps, getting the same amount of money as a village like Umatic. You know, so there's no equity, or you know what I mean? Maybe too much equity.
Yeah, not a good. No, just.
I'm just tired of it. It's so frustrating.
I mean, is it hard just to be more, you know, instead of always reacting to these dumpings, make it just
Yeah.
easier for folks to, I don't know what it's like.
And that's what we talked with the lieutenant governor about. It was like, yeah, it's at the point where the government needs to make it easier.
Right.
I mean, if people can't afford it, whatever, you know, that's one issue. But I think the immediate issue is that we need to have a place for people to throw their trash. And it sucks. I mean, I hate people who dump. I just can't stand it. I don't think there's any excuse. But, you know, that doesn't change the fact that they're doing it, you know. So we can reason away and try and figure out why people do it. I mean, sure, it's part laziness, it's economics, it's a lot of things. It's, you know, a lack of respect. But in the meantime, let's like have somewhere where, you know, they can put a dumpster in it, right?
Yeah. Gosh,
It's easy to get defeated by this story, you know. Like,
Dude, honestly,
I was pissed doing this story.
It's ridiculous,
Yeah.
man. It's ridiculous because, like, even if you did have the dumpster, the mayor was gonna put in the trash anyway.
Yeah.
Like, it's unacceptable. I don't know what else to say. That is crazy. That's insane. That is what is going on
It's hard
in
to believe
Dededo.
that this is an actual
Like,
story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
I mean, it was crazy because I tried to get the environmental chair, Senator Sabina Perez, but she wasn't able to make it. So I'd actually reached out to Senator Clint because I knew he had done a cleanup, but we didn't know till that morning that the
That
area
was
we were
his-
going to was
his
where he
cleanup?
had cleaned up.
Oh man, dude.
So it was like the big reveal.
Yeah, there was a part in the
Crazy.
package where he was saying like, "Oh yeah, I think this is where."
Right, he was like, wait a
Tho-
minute.
those are our trash bags.
Oh god, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I can tell those are our trash bags.
that was another cool is it had that like kind of real time reveal.
And
that's
he's not
why-
going back. He's
Yeah.
not going, no,
Not going
right?
back,
It was a,
nope,
it was
yeah.
a very
Sorry,
clear
Daddy,
no.
no.
Yeah.
You blew it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gosh, man. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Well, way to end on
Hey,
a
well,
sad note.
hey,
Yeah.
Liberation's this
Fisherman's
weekend.
How about that PMEA?
Yeah, but you know that Dededo float is gonna look good though, man.
It better
Right.
look good.
I'm excited to see what the float looks like for Dededo.
Right,
It's
yeah.
got to be pretty nice. It's
Well,
gotta be
you know,
nice, right?
Osh, thanks for having us on your show.
Yeah, thank
man.
you, Asha.
Thanks,
Thank you guys.
Remember, you can catch TrendSpotting every Thursday at noon when we talk about all the issues that are trending that week. So we'll see you at the Liberation Parade, 7 a.m. Catch our live stream, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.